Where's my gavel?
Yeah, I need an extra
Pen, your pen.
You're
Your pen. You know, I'm
Miss Bush was gonna bring me a baby gavel.
Didn't we get a rubber one
Oh,
somewhere?
you got a rubber now.
I'm gonna look and see if we got it somewhere. Maybe at FSBA, a little rubber.
Okay,
No.
the workshop, Clay County School Board, April 23rd, 2018 will come to order.
Good morning.
I'd like to welcome everybody to the meeting on this wonderful rainy day.
Monday.
And this is to go over the agenda for our next meeting. So I will turn this over to Mr. Davis.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. Thank you. I'm glad everyone is safe in nasty weather. We'll jump right into it. C1 is just the minutes from our school board workshop and student hearing. It was held in the school board meeting on April 5th, workshop on 11th.
There were 2 workshops, weren't there?
Yes, ma'am.
27.
One 27th and one on the 11th. C2 is the employee work calendar for 1920. Just nothing has changed. It's just putting it on. C3 is the approval of school board policies adoption, 101, which is district systems, 102, district school board, 103, superintendent, and 104, district administration.
And did we get through 104?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, we were good.
Hey,
Took us 3
we're
years.
just rocking along. As a friend, as one of my idols said, TCB, taking care of business.
And who would have said that?
What is that? Who said that?
Elvis.
Elvis.
Oh, come on. They don't have
Come on,
Elvis.
No, it was
I like
Piper
to
Overdrive.
take care of business part.
TCB.
That's why I'm all about that. I mean,
See, I
that's
am
necklace.
teaching you new
You got your blue
things
suede
every day.
shoes?
Yes, ma'am.
When we went to Graceland, I bought me a TCB necklace. I mean, come on. Let's get going. We gotta liven this place up.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry, it's a rainy day. See, all right, getting back to business.
Oh, that's right.
So C4 is personnel consent. Doc, here. Consent agenda. Here is basically the reappointments of May of personnel. That is the allocations that were already approved. I will tell you that admin will be coming in June. Names will be coming in June, which be the next time we meet for board workshop agenda. This also has two areas of new job descriptions. One is going to be in the cafeteria assistants. We are refining the collapsing 13 positions that we currently have in food services, and we're preparing down to 7. In those positions, it will now transition to where we go 13 to 7. It's just a cleaner way to do business. With that said, the allocations, the job descriptions that we put forth will move individuals' financial status from a minimum of $3,000 up to around $5,000. You want to speak to
Increase,
this?
correct.
Increase.
So we're bringing the job descriptions to you this time, and it will match the salary schedule changes that we're proposing for the next. So everyone will see an increase. The index that we currently have is very old. I've been here for 18 years. That index is the same. So we have people coming in making the same thing that I made 18 years ago.
Oh, my goodness.
So we really need to be able to attract new staff, good staff, and keep the good managers that we have right now.
Do you have a handout?
I do. I have a copy of the proposed job description changes. This isn't the actual salary schedule. That will be next time.
Thank you.
This is all self-funded under federal funds in our department.
Would you like a copy?
So nothing to the
Mr.
chairman.
Superintendent, I'll also add that it's also eliminating the volume,
I have
the
10.
variable volume participation, which was impacting salaries as well.
So you are historically paid on the number of students that participate in breakfast or lunch, and it was impacted individual salaries within the school district. So we eliminated that part and just moved the salary schedule from $3,000 to $5,000 up within that range for every one of the 7 new positions that were approved. Anything else?
Gotta go around.
Safety now sits in front of the door.
That's all I have.
That's it?
There's
Okay.
no questions.
All right, also within this, there is there's new job descriptions for business affairs. In this, we work with Dr. Legucco, who has overall reduced her budget to $80,000 for coming into the next school year. With this said, she's redefined a number of roles within her department to better move the work and also to compensate people in an attractive manner. With this said, we still save $60,000 plus under this ask. You want to speak to it, Doc?
No, primarily again, the same as with these job descriptions. I wanted to modify them to bring them up to date with the roles and responsibility of the individual that's in those positions. So those job descriptions have not been updated several years, as you can see from the job descriptions on the very bottom. So this was my opportunity to update those descriptions to ensure that the roles and responsibility reflect the position itself. In addition to that, I took this opportunity because I have several retirements that are happening at this point. So I'm able to reorganize the entire business affairs division so that we're working smarter and more efficiently, while being able to modify the job descriptions to the roles and responsibilities that they are. Do you
Have all the board members got that hard copy?
Did you bring,
No, I didn't. I have, I think, just,
did you bring the hard copy with you? If not, I'll just load it onto that.
right, no, I didn't bring the hard copy.
I would like a copy of it. I actually
Yeah.
left
How
a
about
message this
by the
morning
1:30
asking for it.
meeting, we just get a hard copy?
Yeah, I
Just
bring
bring
the
those.
copies at that
Okay.
point,
That'd be
yes.
I do want to address this though, and I spoke with Dr. Legucco, and I just want to thank both you and Food Service and Ms. Glover for looking at these job descriptions, because I know that they haven't been updated and aligned with the duties that people are doing in years. And I greatly appreciate the cost savings that you're bringing back to us, because that's wonderful that there are savings. The one thing that we talked about, I did ask, and I brought it up the last 3 months, is that health insurance department, that position, and help me with the name of the title, it's coordinator
It's
2,
coordinator 2.
going to a coordinator
Coordinator
1.
Yes.
But it is supervising people, and I know I'm beating a dead horse because I've said it 3 meetings now, but it's kind of on the same level as our purchasing. Is it our supervisor 2 of purchasing, or supervisor 3 of purchasing, which is going to a supervisor 2, yet health insurance is supervising not only 3 employees? 2 employees in-house,
Two
and then Aon and United Healthcare, and yet that's still staying in the coordinator. And I know that dollar for dollar, it's probably within the same range, but she is supervising and held, responsible and accountable. And I know that you had said you were gonna look into it. I'm hoping that you did, or you will, because I feel very strongly that that needs to be a supervisor position because of the amount of supervising that she does. So I'd like to ask the board to even consider, changing that or asking for that position. We're talking about health insurance. The department has decreased over the last 10 years. It was a office of 5. It's now an office of 3 Clay County employees. Yet we've got 1,000 more retirees. We've got 10 more schools than we had 10, 15 years ago. So the amount of work is definitely much greater than it had been. And then we're talking about wanting to maybe go self-insured. I mean, we can't expect this same person or these 3 people to keep doing and doing and doing, this huge amount of work without being, she's supervising all these people. So I think we're doing an injustice by not recognizing that, yet we're recognizing it in other departments. So we're changing, the purchasing supervises 2 people, and it's going to supervise 3 people, because she's going to supervise 3, she's going from a supervisor 3 to a supervisor 2.
So in this sense, I firmly believe that I agree with Dr. Legucco's analysis. I support her in this. I looked into it. And I don't mean to single out individuals, but in this particular case, it has 2 support staff that this individual works with, and she does coordinate relationships and partnerships with other individuals. So at this time, I do support. I understand, and I know that she's, you know, that individual works hard, but if we continue to grow, and let's just see the partnership that Brady, the Bailey Group brings to us to help, and I think that.
Which again, she'll be supervising.
She doesn't supervise them, they're not underneath her.
Well, they'll be coming to her for
She'll be coordinating.
all of their, so maybe we need to bring another coordinator over there to help her out. I mean, that office, I don't know if any of you have actually been in there, but every time I've been in purchasing or, you know, Jana's department, you know, nobody's sticking their head in asking questions and interrupting. But you're in that office, and she finally has to get up and close the door just so she can finish talking to you because people are constantly needing her attention.
We can look and
So,
see if there's another coordinator.
I'm very disappointed that we're not doing something with that because health insurance is huge.
I agree.
And we need to be on top of our game when it comes to health insurance.
I agree. Doc, do you want to say something?
Thank you.
Yes, if the board will indulge me. I do not disagree that that position, supervisor of,
It's coordinator too.
coordinator of employee benefits, does do a lot more, does do a lot of coordinating of work. But also, so does my other departments. You know, my coordinator of payroll, she supervises 4 individuals. That ensures our payroll checks are completed and on time. The workload is just as much as the insurance. My coordinator of accounts payable, there are 3 people that Jana Thornton, who happens to be the coordinator, supervises to ensure that our vendors are paid on time. You know, so there are times where we're at deadlines where we must meet in order to satisfy our customers, who are our employees and our vendors. And of course, you know, so equalizing the reason for doing what I'm doing is I am first trying to equalize the workload across my division, because number one, we are so understaffed that it has taken us a lot of commitment from all of us within the department to ensure that we are meeting the deadlines that are necessary, so that the board, is not getting phone calls or folks are showing up at the meetings to say, well, why haven't I gotten my paycheck, or why is this paycheck incorrect, or why haven't I received my payment because of X, Y, and Z. So, you know, so to say that one position deserves more of a recognition than another, you know, to me, it's not fair across the board. But also, as Janice has mentioned, the opportunity, if the board will indulge, to provide another support assistant within the insurance division, I would gladly take, if that is something that the board will entertain and, you know, allow me to have. As you know, I also talked with you personally about this whole organization structure, and I wanted to say that I brought this to each of you so that you have the information in front of you as you make a decision, as you go into collaborating and approving some of this decision that I am bringing through the superintendent for the board to think about, I guess.
And we appreciate that, thank you. And you're gonna get hard copies to us this afternoon.
Yes, I am.
Well, that was my concern with that, and like I said, I, you know, appreciate that you're looking at job descriptions because they haven't been updated in years, and they do need to be in line with the duties that people are actually doing. So, well, you know, that's my soapbox.
Well, we'll get the hard copies this
Yes,
afternoon, and that'll just
And
give
now
us a chance to study what Dr. Lugutko's talked to. You've talked to all 5 board members?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
And through the chair, this is the first stage of leveling. If there's a part where we believe it needs to go beyond, we're committed to making certain that's a conversation. C5 is the complete salary schedule for 17-18. It's a document that houses positions and salaries that have been already approved for support staff and teachers by the board. And this will also look and add with the food services reorganization as well. C6 is Curriculum and Associates iReady. As you remember, iReady was a 1-year agreement last year. This year, this is you know, bringing on board back again. We've had significant traction with iReady within our classrooms. We see teachers are actively using it every single day, and students using it during, before, and after school. which is a plus. We add some analytical data that we provided in the mid-year and also within this item. This is this year the cost did go up. I'm in the process in the next couple of days working with iReady to potentially reduce this before we have to post everything openly. It did go. The problem is it went up because of last year they gave us the toolkit free, and the toolkit is around $260,000, and this is something they gave it to our teachers. They hooked us in indirectly. This is a number of resources that does all the analysis for differentiate instruction. So once it gives a pathway for a learner, it already goes and creates pathways and lessons for kids to differentiate based on their immediate needs. And all a teacher has to do is print out, pull, and extend to a child or help to a child to use for small group. It's probably one of the greatest aspects of iReady that saves a significant amount of time that creates lessons for small group instruction.
Is this an annual contract or is this a 3-year?
Annual, yes ma'am.
Mr. Davis, is this based on usage at all? Or is it just you're buying a program and it doesn't matter how many?
Well, I mean, we talk about usage. So 45 minutes.
So the quote is not
Yeah.
based on how many kids use it, so we get the cheapest price because we have unlimited usage. And we monitor usage on a regular basis, but it's for all students in K-8 math and
Right,
K-3
right.
reading.
I guess my question was if less students used it, do you pay a lower price?
No, it's per school, so it's a good question. So, but it's by like 351 students to 500 students is around 14 grand, and then they have another price point at 501 to 800 is 16 grand, and then 800 to 1200 is 21 grand. So,
And you're talking about number of students, so it is by student.
well, it's by students,
Right.
but it's by enrollment of students.
So the larger the school, the more
The more it
expensive.
costs, the license.
And we
And the-
work very carefully with them to
Right.
make sure that we stay in those bands. So if a school is within one, we pay the lower price.
Right.
And
And
we
they work with
monitor.
us. Remember, we added one school this year along with the toolkit, and that's where the increase of price point is.
So does this now make it required?
No, it's not required.
Because I'll be honest with you, I've heard a lot of different things. So I've heard, officially from y'all, we heard at multiple board meetings that it was not required. And then if you talk to teachers out amongst many schools.
Right.
So not any one school individual to protect the innocent, is that it's, you will do this, you will do this, you will do this. And I'm not comfortable not seeing an overall plan for curriculum if, see, I guess where I am is, this is $1 million of our curriculum budget for next year. I don't even know what our overall curriculum budget is gonna be. And this covers, you said K3 in one instance, but K8 in another. But then we pay for Achieve. I thought Achieve was reading. So I'm really confused in the overall what we're.
Yeah, so same thing, through the chair, same thing as last year. So K3 literacy is iReady because Achieve only works from 4th grade to beyond. So K3, iReady is K3 literacy, that's what we approved last year, and then also it does mathematics from K to 8. And students who are pushing at a high level can graduate out of iReady, especially if you're in the 7th or 8th grade, especially the students who are taking Algebra 1 or Geometry in the middle years. Then they'll transition to what we use as Algebra Nation for that point. This is supplemental. This has not been required for me. I've never once come out and said that this is required to be used. It's encouraged to be used for kids. Every time I go into classrooms, I see kids using it all the time, and when I'm in the classroom, teachers brag about having the resource available to them. Now, they wish they had more time to implement it, which is time's always our enemy in education. But when you look at the analytics and the numbers that's in this agenda item that shows the progression, to me, it's state approved in reference to their support in iReady, and it's linked to 3rd grade progression as well, promotion as well. It's a solid tool. It's being used throughout the state of Florida and throughout the nation openly.
Can I ask a clarification
Yes,
question? In order for a student to be effectively evaluated in the iReady program.
Right.
So for instance, a student, let's say I've got a Tier 3 student,
Okay.
and I'm setting them up with an iReady program to help them, Tier 3, you would want them to improve, obviously, so they'd make it up to that Tier 1 or whatever. a student has to spend a minimum amount of time with iReady in order for it to do an effective job, is that correct?
Well,
And the
I'll let
suggested
Todd
time
speak
is
to it.
45 minutes?
There's a recommended protocol from the vendor of 45 minutes a week. I think
A week.
a week.
A week?
And
Yeah, that's
that was, I think, the angst at the beginning of the year, because there were a lot of kindergarten teachers, and I spoke to you about that way back in October, who were not able to get 45 minutes
Sure.
on
And the principals are
computer.
working to make that happen, and Mr. McCauley's team has been adding more hardware. One of the things that you should understand probably is that we're required to provide tier 2 and tier 3 instruction. So when a student doesn't get the first blush, if you will, of curriculum, our teachers are required to like come up with tier 2 and tier 3 interventions for those kids, and they have to document them and track them over a period of 6 to 8 weeks if they think those children are going on to special ed. Now you need to know that tier 2 and tier 3 does not mean you're going to be a special ed student. It just means that we now have a system-wide tool that they can use. One of the benefits that has come it's kind of an unintended consequence for Clay County is that our teachers in elementary and even in secondary have not had a lot of practice doing small group instruction for differentiation. So when 10 kids in the room don't get tier 1, what do? Do we do it louder, longer, harder? Well, the toolbox allows teachers to go in and pull the lessons. They're already written for them. So if I don't know how to do main idea, loose example, I can go pull a lesson and I can work with those students in a small group. That's not been common practice in our county. Some teachers have done it better than others, but overall, when I said we might not be able to get the toolbox back because it's going to be expensive, they begged, without exception, my principals have said, please don't get rid of the toolbox because that's what's helping us provide the small group instruction to move the students. It is expensive, but what I've learned in my career is that it's more expensive for teachers to spend Saturdays and Sundays trying to find research-based tools to put together.
Teachers pay teachers.
Yeah, and teachers pay teachers. So you've been very forward-thinking and providing a tool for teachers that saves them time, and I'm all about that. I think teachers.
What about access at home? We have had a number of parents say, my child wants to work on more at home, and the teachers won't provide the access.
Yeah, so through the chair, this is accessibility
Absolutely.
Anytime,
Yes.
24/7.
There were a number of
So
parents.
let me tell you why that may happen. All of the principals have been given direction to provide home access and to publicize that to their parents. Some children outperform the product and they get into curriculum that is above their developmental level and above teacher-directed instruction. Usually when a child is in this product, they've already seen or heard the word first blush. So they're seeing it as a repetitive tool or a reteaching tool. So schools like Fleming, even Keystone, some high-performing schools, Patterson for sure, those kids, especially Patterson, to that example, they had to tell kids to stop because they were seeing like Algebra 1 in the 4th grade, and that was way too early, and then they were getting frustrated at home. So if you tell me specific examples, I'll be happy to address them, but that's the one we do know that we've had to stop. Usually in mathematics, the kids get way ahead. Sometimes in reading, at Fleming we had a case where they got way ahead into some content that they needed to just stop and pause. So
This was the one specific instance that I remember, but then other parents around said, yeah, me too, was at the fair, and I don't remember which elementary school, but it was, teacher will not give username and password to get on at home.
if you hear those, have them call the principal or call me, but no, it's definitely something we want to see more weekend usage and
So
night usage.
through the chair, without doubt, well, I'll message to principals to make sure that, we've said it over and over again before, during, and after school, because we want kids to be able to do it, because, especially you get to a point where you're in our secondary school classes, and the class is only 50 minutes. So we want kids to be able to use it outside tremendously, and then teachers may be able to have students coming before school. We want that accessibility as well, so we'll make sure it's a priority. I will say this is a product that we have sufficient funding in our within our budget for instructional materials and SAI funds to do. This is exactly what SAI funds are related to do, and that's to focus on tier 2 and tier 3. And I believe we'd make a poor mistake not allowing this to drive forward in this organization.
Let me ask something. You said it's a supplemental
Yes,
program.
ma'am.
And it sounds, is it in are all the
Every
schools
school.
using it? Okay, so if they just, since it's their choice, from what I understood you to say, if they don't use that, what do they use? They just have to go dig it up on
They'll
their
have to
own?
dig and spend significant amounts of times, you know, in order to differentiate instruction and create small groups, which is a lot to do.
It's a lot to do, and it's not always an easy task.
Right.
It's something that, when you're searching for that particular, topic, for want of a better word, that you want, this student really is having trouble with fractions.
Right.
So I need to go out and find different fraction tools
Right.
that I can bring to this
So
child.
this is a
so that
big
they
help to
can
the
do that.
teachers is what you're
This
saying.
is, gives them the opportunity to go in and literally manipulate, that's the teacher tool.
Yeah.
They can
But-
go in and manipulate and bring it out.
But
Some
that-
teachers really enjoy it, some teachers are still learning
That's
it.
true.
It's not an easy, ooh, I know this, because they've been to one training. And a lot depends on how they implement it in the classroom as well. I've had teachers similarly who've said, I can't get this done, whatever. And I've got other teachers who say, I've learned that when my students are doing this, this is what I need to do as a teacher to make this as successful for them as possible as well.
And
So
it's not
it's-
what Ms. Condon was saying, we just gotta make sure that the parents do have access. And, you know, we always say we want our kids to progress on, but I can see where there could be some things presented to a youngster that you really don't wanna go there at that age.
In the reading area, and in the math content, it's one of those things where it's like teaching long division.
Yeah.
There are 5 different ways you can teach long division. Now, when I was in school, it was, this is how you do long division, do it this way or else, and that's how you're going to do it. It's not that way anymore. There are different ways, there are different pathways.
Oh, tell me.
Using your
We're
word
gonna
Yes, ma'am.
to get to that spot, and it helps for them to understand those.
Honey, I made the
so that
mistake one
the
year
foundation's
trying to
there.
help my mentee with math. The principal happened to walk through the media center and I said, what in the world? Why don't you just show them this is this? I said, it worked for me,
Mhm.
but they go around the world to
And
get
they
back.
come back,
And I'm
exactly.
thinking, you have got to be kidding me.
And the parents are at home saying, no, this is how you do it, which is fine, that's okay.
I
And then
mean,
you
it's,
just bring them
it's
back
the
to
way
the
we were
fold.
taught.
Yes,
I was
yes.
like, what are they doing?
I do have a question. Achieve 3000, when do we renew that contract?
That was a 3-year.
This
That was
is
a 3-year
Yes, ma'am.
contract.
And what year are we in on that?
We're going into.
Starting
Our
second
second
year.
year would be,
That's being
I-
used
just
all over
follow
the
this
place.
path.
Now, is this being used, the results of this used towards teacher evaluations at all?
Yes, ma'am.
So then they kind of have to use it, it's not really just a supplement.
No, it's an option because we have a number of options. This is not standalone with any evaluation. So this year in the evaluation side, let's just say that we may have SAT 10, you may have iReady, so it could be, or another one. So it could be a number of different options they could use.
This is probably the one that I do get the most complaints from teachers about. They don't like it, at least, you know, the ones that are speaking up don't
Right.
like it. Now, there's a lot probably who are happy with it, who we're not hearing from, but
How much training do they get?
Significant amount, and I tell you, I'm in classrooms all the time. I don't hear that at all, but people don't say anything to the superintendent, so you just.
But no,
it's,
they,
you know.
they call their board member.
Yeah.
yes.
So if I
Or,
could
but
address
I would
that.
have such a rally behind principals that speak against this, and that hasn't happened at all this year.
Each school had 3 days at their own school this year.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
intensive. This next year, we're gonna scaffold back to 2, because that would basically be to address new teachers coming in.
Right.
The other thing is, if you're hearing any concerns, it's probably from your primary teachers, K1 and 2 teachers, because they are not held to a state accountability assessment like our 3, 4, 5, and 6. So those teachers, as well as taught accountability grade level, you're always looking for tools that'll tell you how you're doing. And this has a predictability tool that's within 7 points of accuracy, plus or
That's it.
minus, and the teachers are starting to trust it this year. And we've kind of done a soft launch to get them to trust it, because until they use it, they don't trust it. And so that's why you haven't seen the hardcore press on everybody has to do this.
And I'm gonna work on price point.
Any more questions or comments before we move on?
How much is the price going to?
Excuse me?
To
What is the price going to?
$971. and the increase is from adding Discovery Oaks and the toolkits over is around $200,000. But I couldn't take the toolkit away. But that has been budgeted majority out of SAI, which is what it's used for mediation, which this is. Title II is professional development, because we have 2 days per school. And then also instructional resources has 19,000, so it's all categorical anyways. C7 is continue training in the Safe Crisis Management Program for ESC employees for the 18-19 school year. This is the where school personnel must physically restrain students in crisis situations to protect them themselves or others. And this is just as us bringing the information to you from the district perspective. We have decreased the number of restraints from last year significantly to this year, which is a positive the way they're gaining access to.
So who is getting crisis management? Who's getting this training?
This would be individuals who work in the special education departments.
So this is your
ESC.
self-contained ESC teachers, your ESC assistants that are inside those, and then other targeted personnel on campus who may interact frequently to provide support.
I frequently hear from our transportation staff, bus drivers, that they feel very left out of that they, we do a lot to handle these situations on campus, and then we stick them on buses and send them out with an adult and 50 kids, and
No training
and not really knowing what to do except call 911, and they may take 5 minutes to show up. And so, which, that's not a knock against our law enforcement, that's just the reality of situations. So if there's any way that we can provide this to those transportation employees.
Again, one of the things is kind of we're already working with Mr. Kemp's office to look at a way that we, as part of our mental health plan for next year, is to bring CHAMPS to the bus. So that whole mindset around CHAMPS training and de-escalation techniques, those things we can certainly work with the transportation office, figure out a way to get that in front of bus drivers, so that at least they have some tools to put out there when kids are out of control.
Is this annual training?
Was it a
Yes,
coach
every year?
a few years ago?
Yes,
Ms.
ma'am.
Spiva shaking her head.
That-
Did you want to add something, Ms. Spiva?
Well, it's not the teachers,
There's
it's,
two different conversations going on.
I was
It's part of
just,
their job description. ESE assistants, not teachers, not part of.
I mean, I know several years ago that we had a problem with a coach,
Correct.
right? And it came up on the crisis management. And then I was wondering, the principals themselves, are they knowledgeable about this?
Knowledgeable about procedures. They are knowledgeable about procedures. I'm not sure.
They don't
that we
typically,
train-
they're
don't
not typically
train-
part of the training.
They're not part of the training side.
I just wondered if they
Shouldn't
know
they
what
be
they.
part of the training?
I just wondered if the principals know what they can and can't do.
Yes, that is, yes, ma'am.
Mr. Davis, how does this work for substitutes?
Substitute teachers, if they get a part where they have to interact with a student to restrain them, they will contact personnel, and there's either a liaison or another teacher to come on staff or administrator will come in and support.
But
the
the
substitute.
administrator's not trained. Shouldn't they be trained?
Well, we can look into training. We don't train
We can look at the
They probably
training.
should be if
It
they're-
adds to the
There-
cost at that point.
There are
but-
some administrators that have.
And
Some have
Yeah.
gone through.
And there are some
those years,
teachers
right.
who can request, if there's room in the program, I believe, teachers can request to be trained. Because I know teachers who've requested to be
Teachers
trained,
are
even though
trained.
it's
Right.
not part of their job description.
Yeah,
So
But
Very
because of their,
So substitute.
I
teacher
know
question.
several years ago,
Okay.
I know that there were people who were
Right.
requesting this
Mhm.
training, and they were told they couldn't do it because of the cost factor. We didn't have the money to do it. But this is something that when it's needed and you wanna make sure someone's knowledgeable close by. But I was just sitting here thinking about even the principals, even though, I mean, I would feel more comfortable if I knew that all the principals were aware of what you can, can't do, and how to put your hands on it, you know.
They're the ones that are.
Because they're the ones that will ultimately
Yeah,
get
they
called to come in, so.
And then,
We'll
you know,
look at
and
admin.
then
Develop a plan.
they could at least
Yes.
They used
convey
I know
to
that.
some key staff, they could at least convey to some chief,
Well, the ones that are-
some certain staff people that might come and cut it, at least kind of, they wouldn't have the official training, but they would at least know what they can and can't do. And you know, we've had instances before, even on buses, where, you know, I've kind of wondered sometimes if some of the administrators knew what you can and can't do. It's just food for thought.
Yes, ma'am. We'll make sure they're in front of it.
And so that 60,000, I'm sorry,
No, no, go ahead.
the $60,000 training cost, how many people is that for?
Well, historically, we've trained between 250 to 300 teachers per year.
Okay.
So it's usually within that
Oh, I
number.
see
It
the
will,
number.
it will
286.
increase, once we have accessibility, if we add administrators to this.
Just considering, this is just food for thought, how much we pay Kelly Services for what they provide to us, I would think that we could have a conversation about a pool of substitutes that are certified. And that's something that they should offer to their employees, so that when you have a substitute, the person that's taking care of that self-contained class, or, you know, they're gonna handle appropriately
out.
whatever.
Yeah, and through the chair,
The training.
and through the chair, you know, I would say that, this would be, if they could create somewhat a pocket for ESE, because you don't want, you have inconsistency of subs every single day. The issue is you're chasing it, and you would never get all of them trained, but if they could have a maybe isolated pocket to service students of special needs, and then we could train that cohort, it could be every day, and they could be specialized.
You're talking about only in ESE classes?
Mhm.
Because now you get into, you're gonna have the subs trained, but not our regular teacher.
Right, typically, safe crisis management is usually instituted by the assistant, not the teacher in most cases. Kelly does provide training for ESE assistants
That's correct.
in ESE. Whether it rises to the level of safe crisis management, the official program, or not, I don't know, but for the first time last year, we provided training.
Oh,
All
okay.
assistants, except for one, who refused to have the training and it was later not used, receives
Well, that makes
training.
So that our school district trained the substitutes?
ESE
Not
ESE
in the-
support.
assistants
Assistants.
are trained, yes,
By who?
by Kelly Subs,
They do it.
yeah,
Okay.
At their expense or at the
at
district's expense?
their expense.
Yeah. Ms. Piper wanted to say something. I'd like to recognize her.
Yeah. Thank you. Kelly Subs, we actually met with them, and they're not only a national company, they're an international company also. If they put a hand on a child, they're fired immediately. There's no coming back, there's not, that is their law, and that rule is, international as well as a national. It's not like you're gonna change it for a local. And even when we met, Mr. Dabrowski and I met with Kelly Services, that was one of the things, because they might be trained in ESE, but that's in behaviors and, you know, how you teach them, but they certainly are not gonna put their hands on a child. The other thing, ESE teachers don't put their hands on a child, and you guys know that, you know, because we always lose. It is a mandate of the principals, it's a mandate of administrators, and administrators was always trained for safe crisis management. I can still kind of chuckle at watching Tony McCabe and Joyce Orsi getting trained in this way back. So I'm kind of surprised they're not trained, because they're the ones who break up everything. They're the ones,
Well,
that is what they're supposed to
That was
do.
my thoughts. Is,
And, and the administrators and the ESE assistants, it's part of their mandate. So, you know, we never, because we know that they're not supposed to, teachers aren't supposed to put their hands on children, and they're certainly not supposed to. I mean, we always lose on that one. You all know that.
Well, let's see what the cost would be, or actually, you know, we're talking how many principals, and APs, you know, do we have? And add that to it, because it's.
They do enter the de-escalation, though, training.
But he says annually, they get training
Yeah, I
every
was
year.
this one there.
So, just to be clear,
Not just in
and
place.
it sounds like we're talking
Yeah,
about
yeah,
really good things
All right,
here,
let's-
but
let's give Ms.
specifically,
McCauley the floor.
we're talking about safe crisis management under the ESE umbrella, which is a requirement of IDEA. So there are federal rules that we have to follow and make sure that staff who interact daily with students of special needs are trained to know how to best handle that situation. Safe crisis management under that umbrella, as well as to Ms. Piva's point, because it's an important one, when we talk about just general safe crisis management for principals, regular ed teachers, it's anybody who interacts with kids, bus drivers, then we can look at how we as a district can develop a plan to get that in front of all people. There is a cost to what we're talking about, this item, and that's why it's in front of the board, just so you're made aware of it. and as part of the IDEA requirements when we write our grant, it is not just about how to restrain a child. The focus is on de-escalation techniques, how to calm the situation down so that we don't have to put our hands on kids ultimately, at least in that manner. So it's pretty convoluted in some regards, but this item is specific to our ESE requirements per IDEA.
And I think that's where transportation feels left out, because we do give de-escalation techniques in the classroom. They interact on a daily basis, then we have them in the mornings and in the afternoons
But not the
on
bus
buses
drivers.
that have no, so then it does raise to the level of a fight on a bus that could possibly be de-escalated with words or.
We would
So
love to
is
get with
it
the bus
something
driver.
that could be done in-house?
Through-
That,
yes, ma'am. Yes,
you know, you
ma'am.
can have a training with our bus drivers and then our administrators in-house, so that it may not be the same cost.
So it sounds like it's just a refresher for most of our admin, but we do have new principals, so they may need to go through the techniques, but, I mean, we coach them as often with school specialists, I say ESE specialists are at schools, and to talk about CPM and what we do, but we'll refresh it for them.
Well, the board, from what I'm hearing, conversation would appreciate,
Yes,
you know,
ma'am.
you looking into that, and, you know, especially this day and time, we just gonna, from every facet, we've got to ensure safety.
Yes, ma'am.
So, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. C8 is the advertisement for the 2017 through 2020 Special Policies and Procedures Manual. This is for the Exceptional Student Education Special Policies and Procedures. This is usually developed by the state document that they make any changes based on legislation and based on state ruling. This document is 236 pages, so we didn't add it within your printouts, but it's added on here. Really, this is just our implementation for 3 years. We don't really have a lot of adjustments in this document because the state identifies and sets policy and procedure. It's just us adopting it.
Well, you can rest assured, we'll read
Yes,
every
ma'am.
page.
It is primarily, excuse me, to the chair, it is primarily written by the state, and it's just an obligation that every district has to sort of put out there. The only thing that's updated are the numbers around restraint and seclusion.
Okay.
Right.
236 pages, it is.
I will.
Joy. Yeah, from the state. C9 is the Medicaid Administrative Claiming Agreement with the school board with Seminole County in 1819. It's just an annual bring that we bring every single year to the board. This is about direct billing and along with administrative claims. This is at no cost to the school district and usually around $1.2 million in Medicaid. That is billed for. There you see. C10 is the mileage paid to parents in group homes. These are for compliance with IDEA. This is where we may not have the appropriate services or resources or transportation to assist students. So this is where we branch out and pay individuals in group homes in order to get the services that we are required to provide to students.
Did we add more group homes this year, do you know, or add more transportation? Was the cost went up significantly, I thought so, in the last 4 years?
We have a couple of more
Students
students
with needs.
very, very specialized
Yeah.
programs
Got it.
in our area, and that would be the only thing that we would see an increase.
C11 is approval of out-of-state county travel from K-12 education academically. Listed 3 out of the 4 are championships the students are attending, and 1 is Middleburg High School going to UCF cheer camp. So nice. C12 is Edgenuity. This is replacement of Compass. Compass was bought by Edgenuity. So, no longer do we have Compass for remediation for our students for recovery. Compass ultimately was around $60,000 historically, which is really cheap. It did get students through credit recovery pretty quickly, which worked for the long term within Clay. However, Edgenuity software has purchased Compass, and Compass is being sunset. It's going away. So now we are bringing Edgenuity to the board. This will it has increased from $60,000 to $99,000. Original quote was around $250,000, so we worked to get it down to $99,000. But this will get students, a point where they're able to have different course selections, looking at credit recovery, concept remediation, and then also look at CTE classes as well, and blended learning models for our kids.
Will this go into effect in the next school year, or is it already?
So right now it's kind of being soft piloted to us, we have zero cost, and allowing some of our teachers to interact with it. They really enjoy it, and they see that it's it's really has greater detail and more tutorials for kids, and greater accessibility to different content. And it's a blended model of not only just sitting there going through and answering questions, but they have pop-ups where a individual come and actually speak to them about the concepts and then allow them to go back and practice. So it's a better model, and but it's really expensive.
Okay, Ms. Pivo, you were.
Yeah, I think Mr. Davis answered it.
He answered it
Yeah,
good.
it's kind of the same sort of computer program.
Yes, ma'am.
I know
Okay.
they're a sponsor of Florida School Board Association, so
Yeah.
Yeah, they are.
I've seen their demos down there.
Other districts are using them.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Just
Just
you know, these big companies are eating up the little ones,
Yeah.
charging a bunch of
And,
money.
and,
Charging
and
a
the
bunch of money.
price goes up.
How does this work in relation to, and I'm blanking on the name of the.
Catapult.
Catapult, yes. How does it, are they two completely separate things?
Yeah, they are. So Catapult has their own
You have to
internal.
be
Yeah,
not enrolled in our schools to use Catapult, right?
correct. Yeah, yes.
And
ma'am.
then Compass is for enrolled students that need to
Yes,
recover
ma'am.
credits. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I had it all straight.
C13th is Mental Health Proclamation. This is a national observation for Mental Health Awareness Month. We will bring I can send the board activities that we will have planned for the month of May, so you'll be apprised of what we're doing in our school district.
I think last month we missed our nurse appreciation, having that on our agenda.
You
We always
mentioned-
do
you
have it.
mentioned it.
I mentioned it.
No, you mentioned social workers, I thought, but not the nurses.
No, we have the
Thanks, Johnny.
social work proclamation, and you mentioned the nurses.
The nurses, because we didn't.
I got a couple of texts from our nurses
Yeah.
during
didn't-
our meeting, but didn't have my phone out that we had missed
But I
them.
purposely mentioned it,
Yeah.
we didn't know about it, and then right at the last minute, I think I did say, if we also, I think there was more than one. There was 2 or 3 things. We had proclamations.
Library was one of the
Library, and
proclamations.
I don't even remember, but we were trying to play catch-up to not, overlook anyone, but it's hard because there's a week for something, it seems like every time we turn around. We're trying to catch up and we're trying to be polite and recognize every group. We're not
C14.
perfect.
C14 is Performance Matters Evaluation System. This is a new evaluation system that's going to host our evaluations for admin, teacher supports. It's going to directly link to be a one-stop shop for sign-in for our teachers, where they're able to look at test scores, evaluation, student information, student performance. So right now we have a separate isolated hub for evaluations, and this is just bringing everything together under one fold. Jeremy, anything you want to speak to this?
I have questions. This was a continuation of something that started a long time ago where we slammed the evaluation system into focus, but that system was always meant to be nothing more than a stopgap. And this is the finalization of bringing it together for a single data point.
This includes testing.
Everything.
And this was
So, am I understanding that this is gonna be more district testing, or?
No, all this is just going to be a hub
Just
to have a single
captures the
point.
data.
It's just,
Yes,
it's
ma'am.
like,
Centralized
bringing all of these individual programs
Yeah, so you
I love
you
it.
have-
one thing, so that.
Yeah, we're just trying to get to the chair. We're just trying to get a single point sign in, where you can go one place, one-stop shop that has everything,
Okay.
versus just going to sign in.
Sounds like that would be-
So just easier work.
The problem is Performance Matters has, I think,
Right, everybody thinks of it
Bad
as our district
connotation.
testing.
Yeah, they just got purchased.
Hair sort of goes up.
C15 is non-sufficient funds for write-offs for permission for checks. This will be a total of 266. I will tell you openly, you'll see that one individual in here continues to write us bad checks. I have had, and I say that because I addressed principals the other day. We have got to raise a flag when this is happening, and ultimately I'm going to work with our business affairs department to almost eliminate taking checks in this organization and go nothing but either money order or availability to play with credit card. We can't keep losing money. And I told the principals, it is their job to work with staff to make certain, and I'm just going to use his name, that Addison Davis at that one particular school doesn't continue to write bad checks. And I mean, they must have a bunch of our stuff. I don't know.
And why is it all, most of them at one school?
Yeah, that's a problem. Or I addressed it on last
You want me to
Wednesday.
go out there and put a law and order?
I've had that conversation.
Hurricane Carol's coming
Hurricane
through.
Carol. That's ridiculous.
So,
Interesting.
And invest in some squares.
You're talking probably cafeteria.
yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
probably.
Could be a bunch of stuff, t-shirts,
For those amounts.
banners.
Or-
I don't know that it would be cafeteria
or
because
I think
it's
it
the
is.
school bus.
Yeah, this could be field trips, could be books, could be, this individual could have a lot of t-shirts, I don't know.
Because that's,
A lot of paraphernalia they didn't pay for.
But
But
you are going to address this.
I've already addressed it
Okay.
today, Wednesday.
Okay.
So they
But on that note, you still have to admit, and you weren't here longer than 17 months ago, but this used to be a very large amount of money.
Was it?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't know.
Dr. Legato can tell you if she goes back in the records, we had some where it was in the thousands.
Oh.
No,
And so-
they have the lunch pay program.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, it is so much better than it had been.
Well, do you remember the board meeting where the person from the public decided to get up and read the names out?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know probably. I think this is pretty bad. So
How long ago was that?
I want my $200.
Pretty early.
You had just gotten on,
Yeah,
not too long ago.
2014.
Yeah,
And I,
15, and I mean, I remember thinking,
that's how your eyes were.
whoa.
and I say this is
That's
not,
worse than the newspaper.
you know, we talk about having money at schools. Well, they got to make sure they get their money at their schools. I don't even get accessibility. So I just mean it's
Yeah.
about pride.
But it
and
is a lot
acknowledgement.
less than it ever used to be, because I know when I first got on, it was in the thousands at the end of the year. And so this is, Dr. Legaco's, and your principals are doing so much better.
Yes, ma'am.
I do think my school bus helps Miss Glover.
Mm.
All right, so before we go on to the next one, I'm going to tell you that I addressed this one as well on last Wednesday. C16 is the internal accounts audit with Mrs. Campbell. She does great work. She has combed through every one of the internal accounts, and I will say that we've had some mobility in the bookkeeping, the bookkeepers that we have in this organization. However, I will tell you we went up from 530 internal audit findings, and this is for us internally only, that we went up to 613, in which 248 are repeat findings. These are where very simplistic items that can be addressed from the school principalship, along with the bookkeeper, like items such as bank statements not signed by the principal. That should happen all the time. We look at lack of getting approval. So if I don't give, Mrs. Carricus approval to go spend $27 at store X, they shouldn't go purchase that, and that individual should actually be accountable for that. But we're just letting them, okay, we'll take it in, which means it's an audit finding. It should never happen. It should always have prior approval. We're looking at restricted expenditures that are not linked to non-trust accounts, which we should know about those items. And then sometimes we have educators not returning the receipt books when they turn in money, because when you turn in money, you should always have a receipt book, and we train all the time. So I told principals they own this process and that this will be going on their evaluation system next year.
I think that may be the only way
That's
to
right.
get it,
Yeah.
to go
Yeah.
down instead of up.
That's right. So
I mean, there's some things that are just, there's just no point.
Yeah.
They're just not doing it. I mean,
Some of
you
them
can get
really
people to sign
increase.
a
Right.
paper. I mean,
It-
come on.
My heartbreak is that 248 are repeat findings. These are items that I know Miss Campbell, because she CCs me on every communication to principals. This is a problem, you need to clean this, I need a response, and then we did it again. So we're going to work on that. We're going to try to remove that repeat findings and move this down for next
And,
year.
Is
we know
there-
you'll take care of it.
I'm all over this.
Is there any relationship between the new bookkeeper versus an increase in the findings?
We can look at it. I can tell you where we had new bookkeeping or separation in work, where
Mhm.
we had a
Because there are a
vacancy.
couple
We see
schools
that
up
there
there
are.
that I'm looking and going,
Yes,
oh,
ma'am.
but, and I don't
Yes,
know
ma'am.
if that would, because I know
I
there's
do it did
lots
have
of help
impact,
when
yes,
they
ma'am.
come in. And even though there's plenty of help, there's still,
Yes, ma'am.
Is
The
there-
little things like, the fundraiser document I sent to the district, that's so simple.
So,
Bridgefield High did one.
are there more at the high schools because they have more money that goes through, more opportunity?
Yes, ma'am. They have so many different activities that they're pushing through, so many different sponsorships and extracurriculars that they have to, have more processes with money, more events.
But you're right, Mr. Davis, when you see 15, 13, 11, 14 on repeat findings, there's no excuse for that.
I agree. And I will say for one of the schools that had 15, they had a separation of bookkeeper, so we had a new one, we had to train, so that does weigh into it.
Yeah.
But still, I'm just telling you, there's policies, procedures, it's unacceptable to have these repeat findings.
Yeah.
16 years and then 17 years, so a big jump.
Is SLE Shadowline?
Yeah, Shadowline's doing a great job.
Shadowline's doing great.
Where is Sheldon?
SLE.
Bottom.
From
They
12
went
to
from
2.
12 to 2.
Yeah.
But then
Yeah, whatever they're doing.
Jerry
They-
went
they
from
did- they did-
15 to 33.
Yeah,
with
They,
the-
exactly. That's why I
they
was
got
just
the
saying
memo.
Yes, ma'am.
Percentage change.
Little things matter. Be very meticulous. The one way we get in trouble is your money. So.
Yeah, but when you got
So
240.
it depends on the auditor.
Well, we had,
So it's not the same.
we had, before I came on the board, there was an elementary school where a bookkeeper was arrested by the sheriff's
Oh,
department.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we
Oh,
had,
Oh, yeah. That's why,
We've had everything.
that's why.
It was big.
I mean, it was.
Big house.
Oh, yeah.
Large employer.
I mean,
yeah, I mean, it was not, this was not
like
a little,
lot of money.
It was a
oops,
lot.
I didn't, I
It
forgot
was-
to get a bank
it
statement
was a
signed.
good bit of money. Do you
This was
remember how
over
much money
several
that
years
was?
and like 3 different principals there.
Wow.
No, I think
Well,
it was a
the-
significant amount.
It was a
Before it
significant
got
amount.
got
Yeah.
got-
It
This
was
is-
up to like
You know,
80,000?
At least, I
It was-
Maybe
think.
even
And-
over
Yeah, I
Yeah, I
100.
remember every year,
It
since
kept
I came
growing.
on board,
Right.
somebody would call and
and what
ask
this summary
about any
does,
restitution.
this summary really allows us to really create a tiered approach of who needs actual supports at their
Okay.
school from a principalship and from a bookkeeper perspective, and what turnkey, we may need additional trainings for teachers. So we do that with teachers, we do it every year, it's mandated for them to go through it and receipt, but we'll continue to make sure it's important.
Well, we know that next year those numbers are all gonna be a lot smaller.
They are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Y'all keep.
Evaluation.
Well, shout out to our bookkeepers, because they're not the most popular people on campus.
They
But they're doing their job and we appreciate that.
Participate in
All right, C17 is proposed allocation changes. So this document just, you see in the general funds, it's moving around with Orange Park High School's school counselor moving from 10-month to 11-month. Also looking at adding an LPN at Ridgeview High School, looking at adding a student records secretary, 12-month. And that's just because looking at their data, they're like 1 or 2 or 10 or about 8 kids away from that threshold. So we want to go ahead and give it now. That way we're not searching for employees down the road. And you see that there's some work through it with asking for adding the director 3 of operations and deleting the coordinator of facilities, the director 2. Workforce, you have some workforce work that's looking at adding deleting a secretary and doing some differentiation with technical supports with the funding side. And then we are in school networking, which these are all different fundings. Some work there, food services as well, moving the director 2 to director 1, and then federal funds we're looking at.
Didn't we address all of that facilities stuff last month when we had new job descriptions and?
No, ma'am. Through the chair, I didn't want to bring the allocations and the job descriptions in the same month. So I wanted to make certain my hand got slapped on that previously. So we're making
Right.
so
it was
lessons
job
learned.
descriptions
Yes,
for-
ma'am.
Sorry, you're right. Okay.
Lessons learned, and the same thing, you'll see food services
Right.
and business affairs job description this month and potential allocations for next month. All right, C18, 17, 18 this year. This is making certain that we have SEDNet is labeled appropriately within their confines, 0 funding, and then also elevating the risk manager within our school district from a coordinator 3 to a 2. And then we're asking for a job shadowing for 3 months for the accounting assistant who will be moving to a different, or there's a retirement. We want to make certain that someone comes in and is in training for the next couple months so we don't lose momentum.
But that person that's retiring is on the reappointments and your personnel consent agenda.
Well, they haven't turned in the papers.
Oh, is that,
Oh,
did she,
Could be.
is the end of this
Could
year,
be,
is
yeah.
it?
She hasn't turned her papers in, she's
Right.
aware of it.
We can't act on something before the paperwork is
Yeah.
done.
Their term February. I don't know, they like to hold it. C19 is monthly financial report for January. C20 is deletion of certain items within our school district. This is items back to the 90s, could be some of the 80s.
That used to be the most frustrating thing to me years ago.
Yes, ma'am.
Is, it looked like I thought we were gonna have to get some long nails and nail everything down, because there were, I mean, it was horrible. The things that were being stolen
Yes, ma'am.
disappeared, couldn't
Yeah.
find them, gone. And you know,
Yes, ma'am.
it
Well,
seems to,
they've done a good
Take it
job.
off.
More of this is, on this one's a lot of lawn mowers and, there's a
Yeah.
typewriter.
used to
I
be a
mean,
lot
keep
of
'em-
computers went missing.
Any typos on that?
You want to
Yeah.
Yeah, really, it's all right.
Trust me.
We'll donate it, $1.
Washer dryer
What are you gonna do? Take it out of my
Probably wants a typewriter.
Okay.
It's a, what is it, Panasonic? I don't even know if they make that Panasonic anymore.
Is it electric?
I actually have one.
Well,
Yeah.
maybe
I don't know, she wants it.
I have two.
It was in 1990.
I have two typewriters.
Are you going to the road show?
No.
Okay.
Road show.
Okay.
I you ought to really pipe it. Just kidding.
Let's go.
It's worth a lot of money and then you'd be out.
I know, right? That's worth $5,000.
He'll want his cut.
C21 is a bid award for plumbing contract. This is, we went out for bid, which is a 1-year contract. And the individual who we will award this contract to for plumbing jobs under $25,000 is the Wright Plumbing of Clay County. So,
I have a question.
yes, ma'am.
So I've gotten this from the public, so it's not my own question. But how do we decide, like this says 20 solicited plus listed on our website for download? How do we decide who those 20 are?
Doc, anything?
This is,
Susan, Dr. Lukaku?
Oh, on the 20, what happens is we take a look at all the vendors that are in business doing this work, that's local and across the country, I guess, that request to do business with us. We place it out there as a public information so that anyone who would like to participate in our bid process has an opportunity to submit the documents within the time frame that we've allotted. So as far as individually identifying a vendor, we're putting it out there in the public so that everyone who does business of this sort, it has an opportunity to bid on our service.
But how do we solicit those 20? Because this wasn't the one, but there's one of these that I got a specific phone call from a Clay County company that said, you solicited bids and we were not contacted, and they provide that service and they're within our county. And so,
Do they have to be on
They're-
our
they're-
approved contractors list?
There's approved
First,
contractors
maybe
list.
yeah,
that's
this is a service, and I don't know,
Well, they can
If
contact
it's
and
a-
get on the approved list.
this is actually for two items down, the person who contacted me, but the question remains. So when we say, so on another one, 11 RFPs solicited, how do we
Right.
choose those 11? That's what the question comes up when it's public funds
Right.
that we're picking and choosing, and that was the question.
No, I would say that we're not really, and maybe the wording needs to be revised somewhat. Really, it goes out to the public for those who actually do business of this sort, specific to the activity we're looking for. So it's not that they have to be on that list, that bid list or whatnot. It is out there publicly, advertised that Clay County School Board is going out for bid for X, Y, and Z service. Here's your opportunity to participate in this bid process. You look at the scope of work, you look at the requirements of the bid. If they do meet that, they have every opportunity to submit an opportunity to put
I'm
in
good with that.
Yeah.
It's if we are making phone calls to specific vendors to say, hey,
No.
this went out for bid.
No, we do
because
not
that's
do
what
that.
it sounds like.
No.
It sounds like we called 20 companies
No.
and said, hey, this is out for bid, bid for it.
Right.
So-
No, I would
Wording
say
it
no.
20 bids solicited. It should probably just say we received 20 bids.
Right,
So
we
who-
received, because they have to
We
place.
didn't, we received 2 bids.
Oh, right.
So that's what I don't
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah.
That word solicited
Yeah.
Where did
sounds
you
like what it
advertise?
is.
Where do you
advertise
It
that?
typically is advertised on our website
So
and
on the website,
in
does
the
it say
papers.
that you're asking for 20 bids?
No,
No.
we're-
So
no,
where did
it
the 20
says,
come from?
I'm not sure.
I'm not
I
That's
following,
how many.
it's not adding up
make
to me,
sense,
cause I'll
yeah.
say it says 20 bids
Right.
solicited plus listed on our website for download. That means to
Yeah.
me that somebody called 20 companies
Yeah.
and said that, and what I want to know is how, and I get that you may not have the answer today, but how
will
do we
find out.
decide who we call?
Yeah.
Because
Who's
that's
running
where the public
contractors.
is saying,
Could that,
something's funny here, we're
Yeah.
playing favorites,
Oh,
and that's
yeah.
public money.
how long ago
I-
did we advertise? Did we advertise 20 days and it's just the wrong wording or something?
I'm not sure, I would have to reach out to
So
my
do
team
it-
and find out the details on it. But I would say that we are not soliciting specific vendors to put in their bids for a service. It is, and rightly so, it's public funds. It should go out as a public advertisement, requesting information or support from all the vendors that provide this type of service. So I will find out and get
So
that
through the chair,
answer.
this is what I'll do, I'll give you update on, language, because I agree with the language, probably needs to be striked. We will update wording, I will give you clarifications on whether or not we contacted individuals. I'll be honest with you, I don't know in that division if we contact individuals. I don't know the right plumbing of play. Also, how did we decide to, who provided us bids, where did we publish this information, where did we advertise it, and I'll get it back to you.
Okay, sounds good.
Alright, bid renewals on C22. This is bid renewals for our milk. This district-wide is a 3-year agreement with Borden, and it's for 2018 to 2021. Expensive for milk, $950,000. That's a lot of milk.
Can we talk to FFA about some cows?
I know, right?
I'll go with
I
you.
know,
Let's
that's a lot of money. That's a lot of
Need
money.
an allocation for that.
Almost, look at this house, sticker shock on
Use those
milk.
portables.
I'm like, man,
Yeah.
you're all business.
How's a minute?
Actually, they do right about the right height.
Right.
Yeah, we just open up a sign, have a
Yeah.
great sign.
Clay County,
Practical
do their own.
If it's not pasteurized,
I know, right?
Yeah, it's a new
We're
source
making
of
$900 million,
revenue.
if
yeah.
it's not pasteurized, it's not legal.
We can do an additional,
It's illegal in the state of Florida to drink raw milk.
it is.
Hey, you're trying to do a farm.
Listen,
girl.
I mean,
It's like,
I'm
nobody
gonna
took
go
my
with it
history.
because I don't know that answer.
I took animal science classes in college.
I go to Publix.
Get the tube C23 is the, an RFP to be awarded. This is for web-based management and, for eligibility management system as well for insurance department. And this would be awarded to a 5-year award for benefit focus.
See, this is why this has to be clarified, because this one says 11 RFPs solicited. So it's not like we're soliciting the same number.
Right,
And
and,
this was the one that I got the phone call on.
Yes, ma'am.
oh, okay.
A Clay County company that was not solicited. So that's why I think there's something funky with our system, and I'm not accusing anybody of doing anything, it's the
Yeah.
appearance of impropriety with tax dollars.
Appreciate it. We'll look into it.
I will look into that one.
Okay.
All right. C24 is pre-qualifications for contractors, is monthly we bring. C25 is the schematics for the final phases for Keystone Heights repipe and science week. Originally we brought this, but it was out of bounds with actual needs, so we had to go back. We had an old facility, it didn't meet, we had to get it up to par with new coding restrictions. So this is looking at gas, pipe, and water, those types of things.
Can I make a comment
Yes,
on
ma'am.
these next 3? I'm so glad that Fleming Island Ace building's not up here again. We've seen it every month for how many
I'm not,
months
next
now.
time, whoever brings that is sitting in this chair.
Thank you,
I'm not
Dr.
dealing with that.
Scout.
Through the chair, one of the reasons this item is brought back was it originally was a replacement of the gas lab. When we got into the project, it became a major renovation to what needed to be done for code requirements. So, you can go back and see replacement versus renovation. So it is now a renovation project, and we have coordinated it, and it's gonna get done.
That's right.
And so
There's
next
science
month we'll
kids
get
will be so
final.
grateful.
something.
They can actually do experiments. I mean, that's, you know,
It may seem simple to us, but they haven't been able to do
Right.
chemistry experiments
Oh, yeah.
for
Right.
years.
Yep. We'll be ready to rock and roll very soon.
They're gonna love it.
All right, C26 is a change order for Discovery Oaks Elementary. This is us making certain that we add security cameras, program changes for fencing, storage in certain departments within the school. Also looking at playground curbs along with mulch. So this is an update of $173,000 change order, in which $12,000 of that will be result through.
Now, at that school, let me ask you, this is a little on the side, there's not gonna be an opening on the back side of the school where the kids from that neighborhood can walk through the back of the school, they're gonna come
Yes, ma'am.
around? Okay, I wanted to make sure,
Yes, ma'am.
because we're probably gonna be asked that at
Yes,
some
ma'am.
point, right?
Right
Would
now
you like
it's-
to open up your backyard?
Oh,
For
I
that?
don't think so.
Sorry.
They'd fall in the pool. No.
And thank you for sending the drone photos.
Absolutely.
It's
That's
exciting
Thank
to
you, Prophet.
see.
It's pretty cool.
To see the
It's
updates.
pretty cool. I ride by there every day. It's going
Mhm.
fast.
It is.
All right, another one for Keystone.
Okay.
Finally.
Yeah,
This
the
is
next one
awesome.
is for us to, that property that was across the street. We've been, Dr. Kemp and his staff have been working with them. They, with St. William Catholic Church's ground parcel, it's less than 1 acre. We are seeking to ask for permission to purchase that. That will help alleviate some of the expansion of the improved safety and traffic flow.
And they are willing sellers.
They are willing, as of right now, to sell that
Better act
property.
fast.
Yeah, you wouldn't believe what they wanted to do, but,
Yes, sir.
As long as we've reached a resolution.
If you will recall, we had a educational facilities project to redo the parent pickup at
Right.
Keystone Heights. And as a result of that project coming over bid, it gave us an opportunity to compete or try to get the property from the Catholics. So right, the Roman Catholic Church, the diocese. So right now, the Catholics and the Protestants, we're all working together. And we have an opportunity to purchase it for $38,000, which is $30,000 for the sale of the real property. We'll be able to make a new parent pickup, more parking for the events there, and it's gonna be a much better use of our capital dollars as opposed to what we were gonna do up front at that school, and it really wasn't going to fix the issue.
Right,
So now it works out.
Okay.
very good. That needed to be addressed for quite a while, so thank you for getting that done.
Yeah. Okay.
that's all I have in my book.
Very good.
Okay, we, any board members have any comments? Oh, I do wanna, this has nothing to do with the agenda, we're through with the agenda. The meeting this afternoon at 1:30 is scheduled to be in this room. I want the feeling of the board, I talked to the superintendent about this, and he said he thought this room would be fine for this meeting. Do you think that we're gonna have people there that will be more people than can fit in this room, or do you think this room will be good?
That's hard to predict.
So I would say to the chair, so my staff predominantly will not be, all these individuals. will
Okay,
be
so
here.
they'll be in, you see, so we may be, okay.
If there's no-
As Plan B,
I have PDC ready just in case.
okay, that's what I was gonna say, as Plan B, we'll delay this for a few minutes and move across the street. Ms. Bush said all we'd have to do is get the camera moved across the street, and we can post notices or escort them across or whatever. We couldn't very well get up and go to the TTC, but at least we would have a bigger room there. So I don't know what to expect. I don't know if anyone's gonna come or not, and we may be fine here. And, but if not, Plan B is to go across the street to the PDC. Okay.
I have a question.
Sure.
I can use my school board member remarks or question. In a situation where we're in a student hearing,
Right.
if I'm familiar with the student, I've never taught the student, but I'm familiar with the student, do I recuse myself from that particular decision, or can I make a decision? I don't have any, and
It's your judgment.
This is a
Whatever you're
legal
comfortable
question, but
with.
in my opinion, it would not be a reason for her to recuse herself, just because she knows of a student.
It's totally in your judgment, okay?
Yeah.
If you would
That,
feel
that's what the law allows you to do when,
Okay.
when you're sitting quasi-judicial
Okay.
during those students.
So I can, if I don't feel
If
it's
you feel
appropriate
that you
for me
cannot
to be
be-
part of the decision as to what is done because of my knowledge of the student.
If you
I
feel
can
that you
say, I'm
cannot-
not going to be part of this, but I can still make a comment.
Yes, if you feel as though, you cannot be impartial,
Mhm.
um,
Well, I
you,
think I
that,
can,
that is
but
a
I-
ground.
I just wanted to
So
make
when you
sure.
recuse yourself in a
Thank you.
situation like that, do you need to fill out any kind of form?
No.
No.
I remember one time, years and years ago, at a disciplinary hearing, it was a student that I had mentored like 8 or 10 years before, that was, instead of being a 4th or 5th grader or whatever,
Right,
they
they were
were
in
like
high school,
in
right.
high school. And I said, I did it because I knew I could be impartial, because, you know, I mean,
I mean, it's
I
different if
sat
it's your
in on
next
it.
door neighbor or,
Right.
you know.
Well,
something.
No, it's a
Yeah.
student that I'm familiar
your next
with,
door
but that's
neighbor's
why
child or
I-
something.
Yeah, then it
where
might be
you-
uncomfortable.
Right. So,
Okay, I was just curious.
And you don't have to
Good
decide till
question.
then.
Okay, does anyone else have any comments or questions? Okay, I will see you back here then at 1:30, ladies. And the
Thank
meeting
you.
is adjourned.
Thank you very much. I got a